everybody. Welcome to the live stream for Sibelius 2024.10. I'm Justin Tokke, Senior Product Designer at Sibelius, and I know some of you know me from the Facebook forums and just being out in the community and such, but yeah, we're going to be talking about Sibelius 24.10 today, and we're just gonna, hang out and chat and have some fun. I'm going to go to Sibelius now, and we're just gonna get started. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna raise my mic volume a little bit. Let me know if that sounds good. All right, cool. I do have a couple of people helping me out today. We got TJ on the marketing team and Chris in the community team. I think Ingrid is helping too. A lot of you should know Ingrid from working support cases on Facebook. So she is also helping out. So you may see them in the chats, answering questions or directing questions to me. Because I don't have the chat directly open in front of me because I got too many things to monitor at once. So it'll be all good. But yeah, if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chats on the various platforms. We should be on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn today. So it's pretty cool that we're able to go on multiple places at once. So we're going to talk about 24.10 here. So I have Sibelius blank document right now. I'm going to add a piano just to get us started. So for those of you who did not read the blog yet, there's two major features to talk about that were added or changed, improved, whatever you call it. The main one is MusicXML has had some major improvements. There's not much I can show you here like in real time about that, but what I can say is we have some examples in the blog, and we also have a release video coming out, should come out today at the rate we're going. So that will have a lot more details about what was going on with MusicXML. There was a lot of issues with multi-rest, the rehearsal marks, the page margins and staff spacing and all that kind of stuff. Part names, the instrument names, all of that stuff has been improved in this version of Sibelius. So check out that video when it comes out for more info on that. The other major feature we want to talk about is notate glissando, which if you go onto the note input tab, hopefully you can see this. It's right here, notate glissando. And what that does, if I create a couple of notes here, and you should be able to see in the corner here, I have this cool little thing that shows the keys that I'm doing. So if you like see me doing anything with keyboard shortcuts, it should tell you. We have notate glissando here. If I do diatonic, it will create a scale all the way through the first note that you created to the last. And you can use that in all sorts of various ways. For example, if there was a slur here, it will keep that slur. It will also keep the articulation. And there's diatonic and chromatic versions, right? So it can go up in sharps, and then if you go down in the same way, oops, sorry, you could do the similar fashion that way, and it's flats going down. The real key thing is the tuplets are calculated, and that's the big thing that was really annoying before in the older versions, where if you needed like just a random scale going from here to here, it was really hard in terms of the users. They would have to calculate what all the math would be to figure out what that tuplet is. So now it just does it all for you. It's really useful, especially when these get quite long. If you do a much taller scale like that, it just does it for you. So really super useful. And the diatonic follows the key signature. So if I don't know, if I do A flat, that's good. So then it'll just follow the key signature, right? So if I got rid of it, you can see it turns it all into flats. And that's pretty much it in terms of the basics. There's some subtler things like how it will deal with tuplets where it can. It'll do its best, right? So something like this, right? So this is in this case, it's a 12 note run, right? So it is able to divide this into 4 groups of 3, right? If it was something like this, that's an odd number, so you can't divide that evenly, so it's just 13 over the whole bar. And one other thing I would remind people, which has always been there, in the inspector, you can also change this ratio if you want to show the actual ratio like that. Very cool stuff. We're really happy we got that one out. As with anything, I really want to encourage people to send in their feedback on these features, try them out. If you have any problems with them or if you have suggestions for improvements, please let us know. We are going to have a feedback form that is going to get sent out. I posted it last week, I think, in the Facebook group, but if you're familiar with that form, basically you can add any feedback you want, and all that feedback gets compiled into one place so that the Sibelius team can read it, and we can all consider your suggestions for future releases. And the real advantage of that is it's a much more structured way of doing feedback as opposed to just sending emails around that get lost, and yeah, it becomes hard to track things. So really encourage you to add feedback to that. So one other thing, I'll mention one more feature that someone in the beta forum was like really excited about, and it seems like a really small thing, but for those of you who are power users, I think it'll make a huge difference. So when you have tuplets like this and you want to change the voice, now the selection is still maintained. Before, you actually lost the selection on that tuplet. So it's the same as if it was just like normal notes, kind of like this, right? Non-tuplet notes. And then I go like that. So you can see the selection is maintained. So it's a similar idea here where the selection is maintained. And then you can do other editing to it, right? Or you can, use your tab key and go forwards and backwards, whatever you want. So that's just a little thing, but it was one of those little bugs that's been annoying people for a while. Cool. So since it is Halloween coming up, I wanted to do something fun and spooky to just hang out with you guys. So if you all have any questions, you just tell me, send it in the chats. We'll let you know. What I want to do is transcribe this tune. So Schubert obviously wrote the Earl King way back. And yeah, he did the song for piano and voice. But I found this version, which is just super cool. It's Ernst's Grand Caprice based on the Earl King. And if there's a video of Hilary Hahn actually playing this when she was like, I don't know, she couldn't have been older than 18. She was very young back then. And she's playing this piece just perfectly. And it's the entire song arranged for a solo violin. So I'm going to transcribe this for a bit, and hopefully you can see some of the tips and tricks that Sibelius can do. And also, check this out. I don't know how many of you are aware, but this keypad can be massive now. Look at this. This is from, I think it was in February or March this year. We finally added this in where you can change the size. Super useful, especially on a live stream, so you can actually see what's going on. All right, cool. I'm going to make a new document. Let me close that. All right, I'm just going to go blank here. And violin solo. Here we are. So I'm literally gonna go from scratch, and we'll see how far we get with this, um, and it'll be fun. So one of the features that we're definitely going to be needing here, or obviously almost everything is tuplets, right? You can see there's these constant eighth note tuplets throughout the whole thing. So that's going to be some work. But one of the things that we can use to make that a little less painful is this very little known feature called sticky tuplets. So I'm going to show you that. So first, let's start at the top. We got G minor, 4/4. We are going presto. Now, to make a tuplet, you just make your G and then you do Control-3. And you could keep doing that forever, right? Just like that. However, if you do sticky tuplets, what you can do is when you're in note entry mode, so you see the caret, you got that blue line there that you're running. If I do Shift Alt K, that's on Windows. I believe it'd be Option Shift K on Mac. Then you have this little 3 above the caret, which means it will continue to add those tuplets, right? So I could hold this down, hold this G key down for a long time, and it will just keep creating tuplets all day long. So that's super useful, right? And of course, it doesn't always have to be a single line, or a single note, rather. Hang on. Yeah, there we go. Of course, it could be whatever notes you want. I'm just doing all of the note names, the letters. Yeah, I'm not using a MIDI keyboard here. I'm just using the straight computer keyboard. That's always been my preferred way of entering stuff into Sibelius. It's what I got used to, and then I never stopped from that point. All right, so I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see what's happening here. You have this where you got 2 voices, which means down here, 2. So we're going 2 voices. Then we got to add some more triplets. I'm going to turn on sticky again. Sorry, I got to be in note entry mode. Sticky. Right? But then these are not triplets. So we just use the arrows to go forward. All right, and then these are common stems like that. And then for these, we want to remove all those rests. So what I can actually do is filters, rests, hide, and they're gone, right? So that's the gray rests you can see there. So those are hidden away. And we have these guys, these little plus signs, which if you're not familiar with string writing, that means a left-hand pizzicato, right? So it's a kind of a fun technique. And there we are. That's our first system. So we just keep going like that throughout. I'm going to move this keypad out of the way so I can see the music a bit better. So another very important key to know, the R key is repeat. So anything you have selected, it will essentially be repeated again over whatever's coming next. So in this case, this is all junk. I can get rid of this. And I'm going to add lots more bars so we can have some room to work with. Right? And you could do that for almost any major object, right? So I just did 1 beat there. There we go. Oop, 16th note, not a 16th note, it's an 8th note. All right, so there we are, and then I'm just going to keep going. See, there's another one where I'm using the repeat because the chord was already made. right? So I can repeat that chord. So I don't have to individually get the intervals. Makes it a lot faster. Oops, my bad. There we go. And now we're going back here, except now it's up to an octave. And you can see here, this is a separated beam. So that's these functions here, separate beam. Reset the note spacing a little bit so it fits. And there, and there. And we just keep going. All right. So this is a little bit of a tricky spot here because you want to show. So in this case, they have it where the blue voice is all stems up, but you still want to hide the rest as well. So that's just using X. You select one of the stems, and that will flip the stem either direction. Okay, that's an exact repeat there. And then we're going back here. There is nothing on that beat there. Oop. That one needs an E natural. Accidentals in there. I'm kind of jumping around. I hope this is clear on what I'm doing. It's usually more efficient to get like all of one voice done first and then do the other voice after the fact. There's a piano here, so that's just Control E, and then I hold Control and do P. That's the old-fashioned way. You can also just do PP like that, and it will automatically change it into the dynamic style. That's another feature we added. I think it was last year. It's pretty recent. Okay, cool. I'm going to eliminate some of these rests. I think all of these need to be eliminated. Very good. I'm just going to check on my dynamics here. Crescendo, decrescendo. Cool. I'm not going to bother with like the fingerings and everything because that could take too long. And that's probably opinion of whoever this editor was anyway. So I'm going to skip that. And one other thing I should show here. We don't need to show these triplet markings everywhere, right? So what you can do, select all this music, go to the inspector, and go to notes, tuplet, number, none. And that turns them off. There's a couple of brackets here too. We got to turn off the brackets. And there we are. Super easy, super clean, right? So now we got this section. We got the first section of actual melody. So I'm going to do this quite quickly. Let's see how we do here. As you can see, 0. I'm using the keypad on my computer keyboard. The 0 key creates rests. Okay. That's actually a D. Just gotta be careful when I'm entering here. Oh, that's, yeah, we gotta be careful with that one. This right there, that's actually a third voice. That's not the upper voice. So gotta be careful of that. Okay. Okay, so that's the entirety of the melody line. Now we have to create the accompaniment part. Sixths. I'm going to turn on my sticky. Actually, I need to be in. Just for a few bars there. Okay. Sharp, F sharp, very good. Just glancing over to my other screen, see if there's any questions. Where am I here? Okay, this is identical, so I can copy that. That's easy. This is also identical here. See? Work smarter, right? Oops, turned on the mixer there. Bunch of these all in a row. I'm getting a little bit of lag here. I think I've got a lot running on my machine at once right now. We'll look into that for next time. Oh, we got chords here. Okay. Oops. My fault. There we go. A lot of triple stops here. I don't know if anyone else is seeing that lag. I'm getting a little bit of lag. That's definitely not Sibelius. I think that's my computer is running too much at once because I'm trying to stream this out. That wasn't happening in my test earlier, so I'm gonna want to investigate that a little bit. But I will assure you that is not Sibelius that's lagging right now. Usually it is blazing fast. That is one of its best features. It is fast and flexible. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so there I'm doing Alt up, right? So that's a clever thing with how the shortcuts work. You can hold the Alt key or Option key, and using your arrows, that allows you to like navigate in a very small context. right? So I can move up between the two notes in the chord. So I just go Alt up and then Control down to get it down the octave. Very useful. And anyone who's learning Sibelius, there was a keyboard shortcut cheat sheet that I made. I think it was in July. I posted that a couple times. We should totally check that out. It's got all the basic shortcuts you would ever need. It's not every shortcut in the program, because if you tallied up every shortcut in the program, it's something like 400. Like it's a lot. So we couldn't fit all that onto, you know, like one sheet of paper. So we picked the stuff that was essential, essentially. The stuff that was really, that most people would need. So definitely check that out. It should be in the Facebook group. And then I think, very good. Hey, we're doing well here. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna add my stickies again. Did that work? Yes. Beautiful. Okay. And there's some hairpins here. So that's H, and then Shift H for the diminuendo. We've got a couple of these here. It actually happens down here too, so let's add it here as well. Will the sticky tuplet thing work for a tuplet too? Yes, it works for any tuplets. Yeah. Here, I'll just show you an example of that. If you have a sex tuplet, yeah, it works for any kind of tuplet. Yeah, and it'll just keep creating more of them as we go. Speaking of, this is another feature that's very important with tuplets that I will show you. So you say you have this, you have these sets of sextuplets, but you actually wanted this to be triplets. What you can do is you select the junctions point you want, and then you do split tuplet, and there's this split or join tuplets plugin, and it will just divide the tuplets, because there's no way to divide this like in node entry mode. Like the tuplet is like a grouping of all these notes together, so that plugin will split them apart, and you can do multiple at a time. Very, very useful, especially if you're doing more complicated stuff, especially in compound meter. I find that a lot in compound meter, where you need to kind of make the tuplets agree with the meter. Right, let me get my bearings here. Where did I leave off? So we have our E flat. I think it's right here. Measure 25. Is that right? No, it's this one here, 27. See, it's down here, bar 27. Okay, so I need a G flat. So I'm going to do, say, Alt 2, that changed it to voice 2. And then another 6 below that, and then make it a tuplet. Okay, and we got to copy this again, because it's happening again. That little scale figure happens several times. Very good. Oh, I hit the space bar, and then it started to play. Okay. Maybe we'll get to the end of this page. We'll see how far we get here. Anyone has any questions, please let me know. Yeah, so this one's a little bit tricky because we got two different voices happening at the same time. So I got to do this by interval. 4, 4 with a sharp, 3, 4, 4. Actually, that G also needs a sharp like that. That one also needs a natural. Very good. Okay. Oh, no, here's that 3-bar thing, or 3-voice thing that we encountered. Let's do the bottom voice first. There we go. Oops, sorry. I'm just going to check on something real quick here. Cool. I'm going to see if that improves the lag a little bit. I had too much running in the background. All right. Back on it here. So we got this point, which it looks like the B flat is actually going to be doubled by another string. So we have to add a third voice. So that's the orange. I'm going to hide these rests, which are not necessary for the third voice. Right? It's a little bit confusing. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to get rid of this because that was demonstration. I'm also going to select all of this again, go back to that inspector and turn off all these ratios, or the numbers. There we go. Now it's starting to look a little cleaner. All right. One more. Here's another section with 3 voices, so we got to deal with that too. Okay, those all have seconds. Oh, that's a subtle thing. The when you do an interval thing, it's relative to the note you have selected. Right? So I see I have an A selected there, so I have to do a 4th, 5th, 6th. It's not based on the lowest in the chord. It's always based on your selection. That's a subtle one. Don't get tripped up by that. Okay, then I need G or C sharp. Very good. And then I need one more. So I need to do voice 3 again right here. Very nice. All right, so this one has nothing here. So I'm going to hide that. Hide this one. And then again, just turn off those brackets. And there we are. Easy peasy. All right, now we're getting back into the stuff like from the beginning. So we might be able to copy and paste some stuff. So let's do that. So we got this. This is identical. It's pretty close. So we need to create, put on the sticky again. Oop, there it goes. How do you do chords on computer input with keyboard input without piano? Right, so I can show you right here. So usually you start with one of the notes, right? In this case, it's a G. I just did G, 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 right? And then you use the numbers on the top of the keyboard, 1 through 9, which will give you intervals, right? So if I do 1, that gives you unison, 2, 3, 4, and those will compound. So if I do 4, 4, 4, right? 4, 4, 4, it stacks the fourths, which is very useful when you want to get triads. You get 3, 3, and you're good to go. You can also do shift, hold shift, and do the same numbers, and that will go below the note, right? So if I needed, for instance, a second version, Shift 4, 3, and there's your chord. Really very useful. It does require you to be really fluent with your intervals. That's the only trick. I believe there is a way to actually do it, yeah, like this, where if I hold Shift and then hold the note name, right? So I'm holding Shift and then do G, it will create the next G above it. Something like that. I don't use that method very often. I learned the intervals system a long time ago, and I kind of prefer it because most music is visual, right? So intervals are a very visual thing. So yeah, it's a really helpful way for me to do it anyway. All right, so let's keep going here rapidly. So now it suddenly changed to pianissimo here. So watch that. I'm just going to take this voice 1, copy it over. And then we're going to need a voice 2 there. Let's add the plus sign. That's in the keypad here. Oop. That's wrong octave there. There we go. Oops. Okay. So for my selecting, I'm doing Control Alt Shift 1, which will select all of voice 1 stuff, right? Very useful for situations like this where I'm in a mixed voice situation and I only want the voice 1 things. All right, we got this little thing here. So this here, so this is marking, I'm guessing this is supposed to be a harmonic 0 because that's a G. That's meant to be on the G string. So I'll just add a harmonic 0. That is over here. Though they have it marked as a 0, which is, I don't know if that's technically correct, but we'll let it slide for now. We have a nice little crescendo, so just do Control E, crash. We'll just type it in. There's also a whole host of options here that you can use, but I always like to type things in myself. I'm going to flip these to voice 2 now because the melody is now on the top again. One important point about repeat. So I just did repeat there. You see, so I have these selected, this octave. If I hit R, it didn't create a tuplet. That's not a default thing. It will only repeat the actual notes themselves, and because the tuplet and the notes are considered separate things, it will only create the note. So you have to recreate the tuplet as you go if you're gonna add the notes like that. And then we got a few of these. These are actually A flat. One way to deal with this situation, you could go here and go flat, flat. That's a bit cumbersome though. What you can also do is just select the whole passage, go to this accidentals one, and say no accidentals. And that will cause any accidentals from earlier in the bar to apply all the way through. Very useful. All right. Adding some more bars here. So where are we here? All right, this is a little tricky. We got all this triplet stuff is all in the lower voice. So let's add that. I'm going to turn on my sticky again. Okay. Sorry, the lag is annoying. Okay, and then voice 1, just for that little spot. So then 5, 6. Easy peasy. Hide. And I'll just reset. I don't think I need to reset, but we're all good there. Yeah. Okay. 5, 6 again. I think this is one note out. There we go. Yeah, this A natural is technically not needed. I'll just leave it in there so we're copying exactly what they did in this edition. Oop, wrong octave. There we go. All right, see that subtle thing there where we deleted the rest 1, so these are the wrong direction. You actually want to force those to be stems down because it's for the lower voice. I'm going to make this melody, get it all in place. Any questions, you guys let me know. Oop. All right, natural there. Let me ask for the folks viewing, how many of you are regular Sibelius people? Or how many of you are like finale people who are looking at Sibelius? I think that'd be interesting to know. So we have heard a lot from people about that. You know, since August, of course, when Make Music decided to kill the program, essentially. So yeah, I'd be curious how many of you out there are here because you're investigating Sibelius, or how many of you are regulars and you're just hanging out. Ooh, one too many. There we go. Okay, so this is an interesting spot. What do we got here? We got a diamond harmonic there. I don't think I've ever seen that before. That's really cool. Oop, sorry. 2. Yeah, so this is to change the note heads. There is a note head thing here. Type. Right? The standard one would be this one, diamond. And I was doing Shift-Alt-2 to make it a diamond note head. Be aware that won't play back without some plugin intervention by default. I'm guessing this means this would be like up an octave. No, this is an octave and a fifth because it's a touch fifth. Yeah. Interesting choice. I think this is identical to this one. So I can just copy that bar. Look at us. There we go. Okay, and then this first couple beats are the same. So copy that. Okay, so this is a bit of a strange one because this is turning into like kind of voice 1 but kind of voice 2 at the same time. So we gotta do some work here. Yeah, this is where solo violin music can get really funky because you're trying to like show all these different parts on one line of music, one staff. All right. You can see I did S there for slurs. That's some mezzo forte there. Cool. Yeah, we're still measure 46, so I'm still in the correct spot. Okay, so this. Oof, we got some cool stuff here. Yeah, this one has a. So the A string is open. I guess that makes sense because it's using the E string up here. Voice 1. Question from YouTube. Finale refugees are still worried about licensing issues. I've had Sibelius for years, but now I'm on the fence with continuing Sibelius or moving to Dorico. So there's some talk about that. We can talk about that for a minute. So the thing about licensing is we've been making some improvements there. I think next week we're supposed to have like an official update on that, so stay tuned for that. But what we did recently with Avid Link is there was a major change where we changed the term that the license that that gets stuck on your computer, the term of that license was changed to 21 days. Originally it was just a week, right, which is not very long. So now your computer can essentially be offline or is given 21 days to check that the license is still active. So it's under a month because we still have monthly subscriptions. So it couldn't be any shorter than a month, or sorry, it couldn't be any longer than a month. But we got into a sweet spot in between. So that's where we're at with that. Where is this extra? So this one's going here. So this is going to take a little bit of work. Check this out. So they have it written as a third voice, which means I got to adjust this a little bit. Sorry, 0.2. Let's see, you kind of got to eyeball it after a while. You kind of look like that. Another way to do this would just be a unison in voice 2 there. I could go either way on that. So all of these rests go away. Flip that one. Let me reset that. Yeah, that works. That works really well. That's not possible. So this is technically breaking a rule. See where the slur is going underneath on one side and then over top on the other side? I'd almost call that a mistake because what the slur is really going toward is the A down below. So this is fine. I'm going to keep that as is. I don't think that's actually... that looks like an error in the addition to me. Joined beam there. Doot, 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 doot. Let's see how far we get with this guy. How much further do we have? I think we're about halfway. So we might stop somewhere in the middle. Maybe we'll go as far as this section here with the two staves, because that's where it gets really fun. Yeah. Hopefully I'm explaining what's going on here well enough. Here we go. More triplets, more triplets. This piece is just endless triplets. I could make a funny joke about, well, of course, triplets are very scary and spooky in Sibelius. Tuplets can be very they can be hard to manage sometimes, especially if they're like going all crazy. Here we go. Let's do 1.2 again. Actually, let's go a little bit bigger. Good. Reset the note spacing. Good. Oop, wrong thing. Sorry. There we go. I actually do want to keep this one. There we go. Very nice. All right, next page. I think that bar is identical, so we can keep that one. Almost, those are almost identical, so let's copy paste. Doot, 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 doot. So this actually changes. So we can actually get rid of voice 3 here. So I'm going to do Shift Alt Control, all 3 of them at once, plus 3. That will select voice 3, and then you just delete it. Delete all those items. Okay, and here, okay, so this is a subtle thing. This is just a tuplet thing that you got to be aware of. You can't just do select up and then delete. You got to make sure you don't select the triplet itself, right? So like that. So what you have to do, go to filters, notes in chords for deletion, top note, and that will delete it. It won't take the triplet with it. It's a bit of a quirk about triplets because, again, the triplets are like a separate object from the notes themselves. So you always got to be aware of that, even if you can't see them, right? Like in this case, it's just the number. But if these numbers were hidden, which they should be, I'm going to turn those off now while I'm thinking about it. None, no bracket, right? So you can't actually see the triplet itself. You can only see the notes. So you always got to be aware of that. All right, I'm going to repeat this a few times because we got lots of these Fs all in a row. And okay, and we got a piano here, diminuendo. Turn that off so you can see more. Very good. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. There's a rare case where there's no triplet for the 8th note. That's pretty funny. Oop, there we go. Right, I'm going to reset this note spacing. This note spacing isn't great, so I'm just going to adjust that a little bit. Good. Hide those notes there. Okay, so we got some. Oh, this is fun. So we got triplets in the upper voice. Okay. Okay, there's a lot of stuff here. So we got a staccatissimo wedge, we got the slur, and we have the up bow. And we can just repeat it. Change the chord. This is a little bit different. And you can see when it repeats, it will carry articulations with it. right? Work smarter, not harder. Copy paste, man. It's always the most useful. So check this out. You go filter, bottom note, again, for deletion, because you don't want to screw with those tuplets. You're just moving the notes around. All right. Now we're getting into this section. So let me finish this line and then we'll talk about how to do that. It's quite fun. So they do have the rest here, which I guess is fine. So we'll just add those in. So here there are no rests, so I'm not going to bother making them into tuplets. Just makes it more complicated. Okay. F and F. And one more. So the lower voice now takes the accompaniment figure. Let's put those staccattissimos back on. Yeah, I can see they put it on top. I understand why, because down below it makes more sense. And then we have this lovely harmonic. Sorry, there we go. Voice note head style 2, which is the diamond for the harmonic. Let me add right here. We got dim E retardando. And then last thing, all of these voice 2. So if I go select voice 2 again, all of those need pizzicato. And there it is. Beautiful. Back to the inspector. Turn off more of these brackets. Don't need any of them. All of it is clear and implied. So now we're at measure 58, and we have this section where it suddenly splits into 2 staves, which is pretty wild. I don't think we see that super often in solo violin music. So I'm going to go to the instruments panel, extra staff above, and it's going to create one for the whole score, but we'll adjust that in a minute. So I'm just going to create the upper line first, make it easier. And you can tell they did this because it'd be really hard to show these on one staff together. Like, it'd be really difficult. The 2 voices would get in each other's way because they're all roughly in the same space on the staff. So it's easier just to notate it in 2 different staves. Right, so the top layers of all of these are harmonics. There's an a tempo, leggerissimo. Did I spell that right? Leggerissimo. Okay, and then the bottom has this lovely little figure. Add staccato. And then we can just pretty much copy and paste that. There's a couple rests here and there. All right. Yeah. I'm going to get through this section, and then I think we'll call it a day. Anyone has any further questions, get them in now so I can answer your questions. And I'm hoping to do one of these next month as well. Well, next month will be here in like a week. November's coming up fast. So definitely want to do one of these again. But I think next time we need to do some Christmas music because that is coming up around the corner. I'm a choir director. I have my church choir that I also play the organ for that church. And we are already thoroughly working on Christmas music. And we have our Lessons and Carols concert coming up in December. So we are already thinking about it, even though Halloween hasn't officially come yet. Such is the life of a church musician. But there you go. Okay, so this is mostly just copy and paste at this point. I just gotta make sure I'm keeping my bearings here. So there's the 3 measures, and then the next 3. Just kind of copying and pasting here. That one's different. So let's add that. Oh, wrong one. 2. Yep, there we go. Very good. Sorry, I'm zoomed way out. Hopefully you can see better. Okay, so there's a triplet here. It's not explicitly marked, but it is. Yeah, it's the melody. This is the Earl King speaking to the child. It's really creepy. So, do I have this? No, I gotta make this one. Okay, so it is the C goes up 2 and the E goes up 1. That's easy enough. Question came in. When you have a rest selected across all instruments on the same beat, is there a way to make it a dotted rest all at the same time? Is that something like this and then this? Is that what you mean? You can select multiple rests at once and change the durations to whatever you want, and it will work. You just gotta, if you want dots, you have to select one at a time, right? But sometimes it doesn't work because it's like, there's something weird with the interpretation. So, but something like that where you select the individual rest, that works fine. Okay. Oh, I screwed this up. Hold on. Very good. Okay. Just grab this one here. See, so for me, it's just easier to like make the little figure and then just adjust the notes to what they need to be. I find that much easier for me than having to rebuild some of these, especially when you got like the staccatos and the slurs and the tuplets everywhere. It makes it easier. That's why that repeat command is so useful. I'm using it everywhere here. What does the plus sign mean? That was left-hand pizzicato. You had that way back here somewhere. Yeah, down here. Plus sign. So essentially the check out the video. Like look up the Earl King for solo violin, and you'll see what happens is the bow is continuously doing the upper voice, while the left hand, which is also holding the pitch, a spare finger will pluck the string with your left hand. It's quite a cool effect. So you can have arco, you can have bowed notes and pizzicato at the same time. It's really cool because you can do the pits on a different string than the one you're bowing at the same time. Not seen very often in like orchestral music because that would be too finicky. It would not be worth the effort because it's quite a difficult technique to learn. But for solo violin stuff, you see that quite often for really, really complicated pieces. Going to finish this last section, and then I do want to do a little bit of layout work here. because I think that would be valuable to people to see, you know, what it takes to get to like an actual good page. Right now, I am literally just putting the notes in. I'm not actually concerning myself with, you know, how it looks more broadly on the page. So I'll do a little bit of that at the end here. I need to get one more bar here. Doot, doot, doot. That should be, nope, sorry, wrong note. Next one over. G flat. Good. Okay. So what's happening here? So they actually put the staccato or the accent on the bottom, right? So you can actually do that. You can just flip. You select the item, and it'll just, that's the X key again. Just flip. You can flip it all day long. All right. A couple more bars here, and then we'll look at some. Let me get this. It's pretty much the same. Why don't I work in panorama view? I could. That's a good point. So that's down here. You can see these little icons way at the bottom. So this is page view. But I can also work in panorama view. The advantage of panorama view is there's no pages anymore. So it's all one continuous scroll. So you never have to concern yourself with where the page turns are at this stage. Yeah, you could do that. I didn't here just because it's like it's one line or two lines of music in this case, so it's not a huge advantage. But I'll do a little panorama view. Sure, that'd be fun. Okay, this one's different actually. Oh, I missed a beat here. Sorry, this goes here. There we go. Good. And that is a triplet there. More G flat. Staccato, slur. Beautiful. Okay. This one actually is different there. Ooh, we got some craziness here. Interesting. Okay. More triplets here. Yeah, there's a lot of little details here. So we got upper parts are diamonds. So they add the flat there as a cautionary. Yeah, I would do that because they got to be natural in the bottom. Oops. How did I get that? There we go. Okay, and I'm gonna copy these. Very good. So we've got a bit of a cross-staff situation. So this is not going to be easy to do here. So this is a bit of a strange situation. So let's see. Let me finish off this one bar and then we'll sort that out. There's a crescendo there. All right, and they immediately remove the lower staff. All right, I think we'll stop at that point, because then it's just endless tuplets, man. It's so many. Okay. Ooh. All right, and then here I'll add a little tempo marking. So for the slurs here, these all also need staccatos. So the way you do these slurs, so you have to turn off magnetic layout and then kind of just bend them to your will. I have to turn off, I'm going to select everything and turn off these brackets again. And then, yeah, you kind of got to bend them to your will, because there is no native cross-staff lines as of yet in Sibelius. That's something we want to add in the future. So you kind of just got to make them work. But if this distance changes, then you got to change it after the fact. So let's look at some layout stuff. So that's half the piece. It's a little bit more than half the piece, actually. Yeah. But let's go back to the beginning. And so first thing we need to do, we need to get rid of this extra staff. We don't need that. So I'm going to triple click, which means it's going to select the entire staff for the whole thing. Then go to layout and hide empty staves. And that'll turn that off. Then we're going to appearance. Let's remove all these instrument names. We don't need any of that. Let's add an indent here. So if you go to the inspector, select the first bar, gap before bar, 5. That'll add a little indent. And then let's add Earl Koenig. Oh, I need to add the umlaut. I'll do that later. Then we have composer Franz Schubert. Is it George Ernst? I have to look that up. I don't have it in front of me. Unless it's on the first page. Yeah, it's not actually written there for some reason. Very strange. And then let's do subtitle. Grand Caprice Opus 26. So now I'm actually gonna now put this away because this is now not relevant. So this is pretty good out of the box, but let's do some cleverness here. So I'm gonna import the podium style, which is this is just the default, like I don't know what you'd call it, the classical style for Sibelius. A lot of these other ones are older legacy stuff, but there's 3 main ones. There's podium, Moderna, and handwritten. Handwritten is like the jazz kind of looking thing, and Moderna is more like using sans serif fonts and stuff like that. But podium is the more traditional looking one. I think we already had most of those because that's the default. So you can see it put my things back on, so I can turn those off again. Then I want to do some adjustments here. So letter size, no. We're going to go with concert, proper 9x12. Let's do 5 or ½ inch margins. No left margins at all. Definitely want no left-hand margins. I'm going to change 7 is fine. I think that'll be fine. And here we are. Let me turn off the hidden stuff so we don't have to see it. Do we have to do any actual stuff here? It's pretty good. Like this, the great advantage about like single line work is it kind of just works itself out, you know? It's kind of great. Might want to do some subtle adjustments here. Maybe adjust some of these rests. Some of them are a little bit far. That's pretty good. This layout doesn't work well, so let me see what we can do here. So what's happening here? We do have staff justification on. I am going to do a system break here. So if I select the bar line, hit enter, that's how you do the system break. Right? And then here, this system's looking a little tight, so I'm going to create that together. So that's Alt-Shift-M, make into system. Essentially, that's what that is. So now we have 3 bars, 3 bars, 3 bars, etc., etc. So that's really good. Let's do some adjustments here, but line these up a little better. So we don't have enough music to fill this page, so that's what's happening here. I'm gonna have to adjust this. So you can adjust these staves in a few different ways, right? You can manually drag them, right, which is the obvious thing. And with staff justification, so what that does is it will, if there's enough material on a page, it will automatically spread everything out. So if I go to appearance, engraving rules, very important dialogue that if you're doing any kind of like really intense kind of engraving work, you got to familiarize yourself with this. We have justification here. This is staff justification. If I change this to 100, that turns it off. Of course, you didn't see any change here. But if I change it to a much lower value, so you see what it did there. So what that means is if there's 10% full, if the content is 10% full, it will turn on justification and automatically spread out the staves to the whole thing. Now, in this particular case, you probably wouldn't want that. There's only 6 staves to the entire page. So it's probably better. So that's why the default is 65. So it's, you know, a bit more than 2/3 or so, or a bit less than 2/3. So if I add some page breaks here, you can see how this works. So if I go here, so I've got 6 staves here. So it's automatically not justifying it because that's not enough content, right? But if I do 7, there it does justify it. You see that? So it automatically will spread it out. Let me turn on my margins so you can see what that is. So you have page margins. Look at document setup here. Page margins, which that's what this blue line is. This is the absolute, nothing can spill into there if you can help it. But there's also the staff margins here, which defines where the stave, the edge of the staff will hit relative to the page margin. If I turn on my staff rulers, you can see that in effect. So this bottom staff, if you look at that document setup again, is set to 1/2 inch from the bottom of the page. So that's what's happening here. It's a 1/2 inch from this bottom number, from the bottom margin, and the same with the top. It's 3/4 of an inch. It's a little bit more because you need more space for the page turns or the page numbers, and that's pretty standard. So the advantage of staff justification, of course, is you get this very nice balanced look where the staves are aligned, top and bottom. right? And this is not bad. If I was to spread this out a little bit more, because a lot of these are 4 bars. Some of these are 4 bars per system, and that's a little bit dense for me. So if I manually start spreading this out a little bit, so let's see. Let's go here. Just kind of make it 3 bars per system throughout. That's pretty good. We might have some... yeah, no, that's pretty good. This one we can kind of get away with it because it's not as dense. Let's try here. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So now in this instance, it works out because all of the... I mean, one of the features of this piece is this constant repetition of the 8th note. So it's actually really easy to do layout because it's forcing all the spacing to be pretty consistent. So you can see all these bars almost entirely line up. There's a couple of them that don't for various reasons. But yeah, so layout is pretty easy on this one. Yeah, and it's the justification is happening here. So we have 4, 8, 9 staves on that page. Very good. Now, I mean, this is not a piece where we can possibly worry about page turns because this is a type of piece that would be intended to be memorized. And of course, like there's no rests anywhere. So page turns are not even possible on a piece like this. But if you did have some, you could, define here's where I want the break and shove the staves around to your liking. So there we go. That's like the really basics of the layout of how you would do that. Space. I'm just fiddling with things now. I'll move things around. Oh, here's a good thing. So you see this here. So this is magnetic layout. Look at the dynamics. Do I have my filter dynamics? So you can see here, these are all aligned because magnetic layout is on, which is fine. But I don't want to actually do that. What I want to do is have this forte be a little bit further out. So I have my own personal shortcut, Alt-Shift-F, which does this freeze positions, which then means it will essentially detach it from that group, right? So now I can move this forte wherever I want, and these will continue to be aligned. And they're so you can see the shadow position there, that gray, that's the actual position of the line, and then they're just moved out of the way because these notes here are going to collide, right? So if I move these down, they'll move with it. So that's magnetic layout. Super important feature. And yeah, so here, similar idea. I want to move that out of the way a little bit. Very good. All right, any last questions? Please send them in. But thank you all for hanging out and doing some Sibelius with me. It's been fun. Hopefully you check out the 24.10. It's going to be, I think it's super useful, especially for those of you who are doing coming from Finale or Dorico or MuseScore. If you have any materials that you need to get into Sibelius, it's going to be a huge improvement. Highly recommend you update and make sure you test it out. If you do find that there's any issues with you trying to import your scores, if there's something wrong with it, get in touch. Absolutely, and we will definitely get those fixed up because there's a great team behind Sibelius, and we're really trying to get things better and improve just the life cycle of people using the software. It was a really cool thing over the beginning of October where we did several meetings with a bunch of people who did the Broadway shows in New York City, and it was just really gratifying to hear them talk about Sibelius and how it's such a workhorse. And they use it. They don't use it as much as Finale, of course, because Finale has been dominant in that that particular sphere for so many decades. But now that Finale is going away, there's this real hope that Sibelius can now become the standard in that group, because it's such a workhorse and it's so fast and it's so flexible. It's really useful for um, power users really trying to get a lot of hard work done. So I think we'll end it there today, and hope to see you all in the next one. Thank you, everybody. Cheers.